And we are live. All right, everyone, welcome back to my channel, Baseball Talk with Nick Morgan. Today, we are throwing it over to second baseman for our Who is Better player comparison series episode. This is number 5 on the series. A lot of fun. We kicked things off with starting pitching, then we went to the bullpen, looked at closers. On the receiving end of things, we compared Gary Sanchez and James McCann. In our most recent episode, it was Luke Voit, Pete Alonso, and now today, here we are comparing DJ LeMahieu and Jeff McNeil. Who is the better second baseman going into the 2021 regular season? That's what we're going to go ahead and find out today in this episode of Who is Better player comparisons. I'm excited. This is gonna make for another very good conversation. Yesterday's episode, Luke Voit, Pete Alonso, that was a fun one. We got to deep dive into the stats, really see, because these are two very prominent names, especially in New York. We shift over to second base now, and it's the same thing yet again. DJ LeMahieu, Jeff McNeil, two huge names. They both hold a really special place with their given franchise. DJ LeMahieu, of course, coming back to the New York Yankees on a 6-year, $90 million contract this winter. Jeff McNeil, just 28 years old, looking to go ahead and really make another big impact with this Mets organization following their flurry of moves this offseason. Let's go ahead and premise our players, then dive into the stats. Welcome to episode 5 of Who is Better player comparisons. Starting off with the New York Yankees starting second baseman for this 2021 regular season, none other than David John, DJ LeMahieu. He is a 32-year-old second baseman standing at 6'4", so not the typical physique and build of a second baseman in Major League Baseball. He is quite tall for the position, but he can not only play second, he's also capable of playing first and third base. He has got a lot of different options defensively and versatility, which really helps this New York Yankees team, especially because we know that they have been riddled with injuries over the course of the past few seasons. So DJ LeMahieu and his versatility really comes in clutch, being able to play 3 out of the 4 infield positions. Now, LeMahieu was drafted in 2009 by the Chicago Cubs. He was a second-round pick, selected 79th overall, and debuted with the organization on May 30th, 2011. That was his big league debut with the Chicago Cubs. Now, 2021 is going to mark his 3rd season with the New York Yankees. I believe it was a 2-year, $24 million contract that expired after 2020. He went ahead and signed that 6-year deal as he hit free agency in the 2020-2021 winter. Moving over to his New York Mets counterpart, Jeff McNeil, just 28 years old, hits left-handed, throws right-handed, and he was actually quite a bit further back in his respective draft, selected 356th overall in the 12th round of 2013. He was chosen by the New York Mets, debuted with the Mets, made his big league debut on July 24th, 2018, and much like DJ LeMahieu, he does have some defensive versatility as he can play left, center, and third. So both of these guys can play 3 different positions. DJ LeMahieu all being infield spots. Jeff McNeil can go ahead, play left field. I believe he got some left field time in the 2020 regular season, so we might be able to see more of that here in 2021 also. Guys, this is going to be a very fun comparison right here. The numbers are actually fairly close, especially as we get into 2021 projections a little later on in this episode. But we're going to start things off with 2018 and 2019. So if you guys are not familiar with the series here, what we do is we take a look at the older seasons first. So this time we're comparing 2018 and 2019. Jeff McNeil made his debut in 2018. And then we're going to get into 2020. We'll look at that, single it out, the 60-game season. A little bit weird, so we're going to keep that an individual statistic and set. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the projected numbers by Baseball Reference. So with that being said, taking a look at 2018 to 2019, the 2 years combined, let's go ahead and start comparing DJ LeMahieu and Jeff McNeil. Now, LeMahieu played with both the Colorado Rockies and the New York Yankees over the course of this time period. 2018, he was with the Colorado Rockies, and 2019 was his first season with the New York Yankees. So We look at his numbers here, 273 games played. That is quite a bit more than Jeff McNeil. Remember that McNeil made his debut just about midway through that 2018 season, so the lack of games makes sense in Jeff McNeil's case. 273 games for DJ, 196 for the Flying Squirrel. 1,135 at-bats for David John compared to 735 for McNeil, so a 400 at-bat difference, and in that time, DJ LeMahieu was able to grab 344 hits, good for a 303 average. Now, both are a great set of numbers right here, but for Jeff McNeil, he's going to have 236 hits and 735 at-bats, good for a 321 average. So we look at who leads the first four categories here, and DJ gets three of them. He gets games, at-bats, and hits, but Jeff McNeil with the higher average at 321. Then we start to look at some statistics, where if you've seen the earlier episodes of this series, you know that not all the stats included in this video are extremely important when it comes down to figuring out who is the better player, like runs, doubles, triples, stolen bases, even walks really isn't a key factor in determining how good someone is. Of course, walks being the most important out of those four, just because it does go ahead and help out the on-base percentage statistic and metric. So if we go ahead and dive into runs, 199 runs scored for DJ LeMahieu from 2018 to 2019, compared to 118 for Jeff McNeil. Doubles, a key difference here, 17 extra doubles for DJ. Again, though, this is not really a huge category to look at, so yes, he had 17 more, but what is that really worth and how valuable is it? Not much. We go to three base hits, so triples now. The Mets second baseman had 7 in these 2 years, compared to the New York Yankees and Colorado Rockies second baseman, who had 4. Then we look at home runs, and now this is where extra base hits start to matter a little bit more, because this really impacts the slugging percentage. So 41 home runs for DJ compared to 26 for Jeff McNeil. Now, neither of these guys are known for their power, however, they still can easily get one out of the park, and they will hit their fair share of home runs over the course of any given season, postseason, regular season, spring training, what have you. So 41 home runs to 26 for the Yankees and Mets respectively, 164 runs batted in for the Yankees second baseman and Rockies second baseman, and then 94 for Jeff McNeil. He had 94 ribbies from 18 to 19. We look at the stolen base metric here, 11 for LeMahieu, 12 for McNeil. Again, not a huge category when it comes to comparing players, but still important to note just for the fact that it is the stats that they put up over this time frame. 83 walks for DJ, 49 for Jeff, so LeMahieu gets that category as well, and that actually rounds out DJ's wins in stats and individual categories for the 2018 to 2019 time frame. Everything else, from strikeouts to OPS plus, which you can see on screen, goes to Jeff McNeil. He led in all these categories. 99 strikeouts was the lowest out of the two. DJ had 172. A 383 on base, 513 slugging, 896 OPS, all belongs to Jeff McNeil. For DJ, it was a 350 on base, 476 slugging, 825 on base plus slugging. And then we dive into OPS plus. Now, OPS plus essentially means what percent are you above or below average against the rest of the league? So if we take a look at the OPS here, DJ LeMahieu had an 825 OPS. If your OPS plus is higher than 100, you are that percent better than the rest of Major League Baseball. So a 112 OPS, DJ LeMahieu's OPS of 825 was 12% better than the rest of the league. Jeff McNeil's 896 OPS put him at 41% above average compared to the rest of the players in baseball from 2018 to 2019. So obviously, if you have higher OPS, more often than not, you're going to have a higher OPS plus. If we look at the 2018 to 2019 seasons, who was the best second baseman in this particular era? And well, what do you value? If you want a guy who's going to get on base, he's going to hit for high average, and then also have a nice slugging and OPS statistic, you're going for Jeff McNeil. If you want a guy who produces a little bit more in home runs, RBIs, runs scored, and then who's going to play a little more often, DJ LeMahieu is your guy. Now remember, playing a little more often kind of goes to Jeff McNeil not being around the first half of 2018, so he did miss a lot of time then, and that's not his fault. He just did not make his debut that early. It's not like he was injured or unavailable for whatever reason. So in all honesty, I would go ahead and say, looking at the categories that he leads, average, on base, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, I would go with Jeff McNeil right here because he is definitely a very solid second baseman. From 2018 to 2019, he proved how good he was, and even in 2020, he put up some great stats. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, take it for what it is, but 2018 season for DJ LeMahieu, he was not with the New York Yankees. Of course, he was a Colorado Rocky. So if it means anything to you, yes, there is that argument, and it's very well known that the Coors effect does play some sort of impact on a given player's stats. The ball travels a little bit different in Coors, so when hitters, of course, LeMahieu being on the Rockies, Arenado, Story, Blackmon, all of them at the time in 2018, when guys are seeing pitches, the pitches come in a little bit differently, they have different movement, and then also at the same time, Colorado, at Coors Field, you are elevated a little bit higher, so the ball is going to travel off the bat more. So when you go to an away stadium, your swing is going to look a little different because the ball is going to move a little bit different out of the pitcher's arm. So a lot of the times, there's either a very clearly home stat better for one player when they're a Colorado Rocky, or they're so much better away because they're used to the ball moving regularly instead of a team coming in for a certain amount of games and the pitchers kind of having to adjust accordingly because of the high elevation. So if you want to say that DJ LeMahieu's 2018 season was impacted negatively or his numbers were skewed because of the Coors effect, you can make that argument. If not, that's also fair. Nonetheless, I would go ahead, honestly, and pick Jeff McNeil from 2018 to 2019. Now, what you're going to see is 2020 rolls along and we look at these numbers, there is a slight shift. As the change of pace, the tide turns a little bit, and we flip a switch, you're going to see a huge difference between DJ LeMahieu and Jeff McNeil. Now, regardless, LeMahieu was incredible in 2019. 2018 does hold him back a little bit statistically. He probably could have led a little more categories if we just singled out 2019. But at the end of the day, if you're going to take anything away from 2018 to 2019, it's that both of these guys put on spectacular performances. Just for the sake of production, I would maybe go with Jeff McNeil. He's got the average, the on-base, slugging, OPS, OPS plus. And honestly, they're all fairly higher than LeMahieu's. You got 0.033% higher for on base. The slugging, there's a bit of a difference there. OPS plus, 41% to 12% better than the league is a substantial difference. So I would go probably with Jeff McNeil from 2018 to 2019. However, just to mention some awards that they won before we head into 2020, LeMahieu was a Gold Glove Award winner in 2018, an All-Star and a Silver Slugger in 2019, his first year with the Yankees where he really started to go off. And then for Jeff McNeil, he didn't win anything in 2018. He wasn't elected to the All-Star game because he made his debut in late July. But in 2019, he was selected to the National League All-Star team. So that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for our 18 and 19 stats. Again, I would go with Jeff McNeil right there. In that time frame, the sample size that he had, less games and everything, but some good numbers. Now, if you prorate his 196 games to 273, LeMahieu might have the upper hand. And I do think that there's one second baseman that is better than the other going into 2021, and as a career is better than the other. But especially, just DJ LeMahieu as a Yankee has been a sight to see. Let's go ahead and look at 2020 now. This, of course, is a very weird season. 60-game abbreviated schedule following COVID protocols and everything, having to limit the start of the season. It got delayed by a few months. I believe opening day for the first few teams, I think 4 teams played on July 23rd. The rest of the league opened up on July 24th. And it ended regular time. We still got to the postseason for October baseball. If you got off to a slow start, you weren't looking too hot getting the wheels back on the wagon. But Good thing for both of these second basemen, they did very well throughout the entirety of 2020. We look at games played. LeMahieu played in 50 of the 60 games schedule, and Jeff McNeil played in just 2 more games, 52 games out of the 60. So both of these guys got a lot of appearances, a lot of opportunities, and they really made their mark. DJ LeMahieu had 195 at-bats. He was able to acquire 71 hits and a league-leading 364 batting average. He led all of Major League Baseball in batting average. He took home the title with a 364. That is an incredible number, ridiculous production right there from DJ LeMahieu. We look at Jeff McNeil. He had more games played, but less at-bats. He had 14 less hits. His average was still above 300, which is a great number to have to end a year with, but it just was not high enough to beat out DJ LeMahieu. 183 at-bats, 57 hits, a 311 average for the New York Mets second baseman. We then go to runs scored. 41 runs for the New York Yankees second baseman, David John. Jeff McNeil scored 19 times in 2020. Extra base hits, if we look at doubles, Jeff McNeil led out of the 2 with 14 compared to DJ's 10. Triples goes to DJ LeMahieu. He had 2 3-base hits. Jeff McNeil had a goose egg, was not able to get a triple in last year's abbreviated season. 10 home runs for LeMahieu, 27 RBIs, 3 stolen bases. He leads in all 3 of those categories. Again, neither of these guys are necessarily power hitters, but they do have the potential to hit one out at any given time if the pitch is right. McNeil had 4 home runs, 23 RBIs, and 0 stolen bases. So all those categories go to DJ LeMahieu. That's going to boost him up a little bit. You can see on the graphics on screen right now that the stats are very lopsided. LeMahieu essentially leads in all categories but 3. That's games, doubles, and what we're going to get to now, doubles. And walks. So games, doubles, and walks all go to Jeff McNeil. The rest of the metrics are in DJ's favor. He out-hit and outplayed McNeil in every other category. Walks-wise, 18 for the Yankees, second baseman, 20 for the Mets. Then we get to strikeouts. Not a huge difference here. 21 strikeouts for LeMahieu compared to 24 for McNeil. On-base percentage, huge. This is where we really see a big difference from 18 and 19 to 2020. And again, if we were looking at 2019 alone for DJ, his numbers would have been higher than his 2018 and 2019 totals because I think the Coors effect did have some sort of impact on him. It held him back a little bit, but look at his 2020 stats right here. A 421 on base, 590 slugging, and a 1.011 on base plus slugging. That's good for a 177 OPS plus. He was 77% better than the rest of the league. Jeff McNeil still put up great stats over the course of his 52 games in 2020. A 383 on base, 454 slugging, 836 OPS, and a 131 OPS plus. But just he did not catch up to DJ, who really went on a tear in the 60-game season. Now, the Coors effect and WAR kind of have a very similar mindset or a very similar effect on fans, as in they aren't necessarily huge for a particular player. Some fans will advocate for WAR. They'll advocate for the Coors effect. And then at the other time, it's guys like, well, WAR means nothing. And okay, a guy can do bad in one stadium. That's his home stadium, so that's on him. Right? WAR, essentially, for those of you who are unfamiliar, it is wins above replacement. So the higher your WAR is, the better of an impact you are for your team. And the more you help out your team in a positive manner, win games. DJ LeMahieu's WAR was 3 over the course of 50 games, meaning that, you know, with him being in the lineup, the Yankees were more likely to win. Jeff McNeil still had a positive WAR, but his was half of DJ's, coming in at 1.5. I mean, it's very obvious here. I don't think I need to say it, but DJ LeMahieu, clearly the better second baseman in New York last season. I mean, it just, you look at the numbers, and it's overwhelming to see all the italics and the underlined numbers on this Yankees graphic. He leads in almost everything, minus games, minus doubles, minus walks. He outperformed McNeil every other way possible. And this is all obviously offensively. We're not looking at defensive metrics and stats. But at the plate, DJ was a monster. And that's obviously in a good way. So 2018 to 2019, you could give it to McNeil. You can give it to DJ, who was better then. I mean, honestly, because there were a lot less games, I think it's safe to say McNeil was the better second baseman. If he played in the same amount of games as DJ, I'm sure it kind of would have panned out to the extent where LeMahieu would have ended up being the better second baseman. But nonetheless, here in 2020, it goes to the man in pinstripes, DJ LeMahieu. With that being said, let's go ahead and transition into the 2021 projections by Baseball Reference. So if you're unfamiliar with Baseball Reference and what we do with this series, at the end, of course, the main goal is to say who is the best second baseman in New York for 2021. So yeah, 2018, 2019 is great. Last year's fun, but that is all come and gone. 2021 is right around the corner for the regular season. We are less than 3 weeks out, which is awesome. But who was better in 2021? Baseball Reference is home to a plethora of stats. If you want to do a deep dive on any particular player, go to baseballreference.com. They have almost everything that you can find on that website. It's great, especially if you're a stat head looking to learn more. That is the place to go. Baseball Reference also goes ahead and gives player projections prior to the start of every season. And an important factor here is their percent reliability, which you can see at the top of screen right now. Their percent of reliability essentially means the higher it is, the closer to 100%, the more accurate they think these numbers are going to be, the more confident they are essentially that these numbers are fairly close to the final stat line come the end of the 162 game span. So 82% reliability for DJ LeMahieu means that they are fairly confident what these numbers are distributing are going to represent LeMahieu's final stats at the end of 2021. Let's go ahead and take a look. They're projecting him to have 505 at-bats, totaling 150 hits, and a 297 batting average. Now, I'm taking a look myself at Baseball Reference, and if we look, the last full season he had, 162 game span, was 2019. He appeared in 145 games and had 602 at-bats. So almost 100 more than what they're projecting him here in 2021. However, in those 602 at-bats, he was able to maintain a very high batting average, finishing at 327. So a huge difference, a huge drop for DJ as they project him to hit just south of the 300 mark. Yeah, it's fair, but I mean, he is a career 305 hitter, so I think LeMahieu would probably end up having a little bit higher of an average come the end of the season. Nonetheless, just basing everything off of Baseball Reference and their current projections, they have him hitting 297 in 505 at-bats. He's going to lead the at-bats and hits category, and then Jeff McNeil will go ahead and take batting average by, get this, .001. McNeil, 480 projected at-bats, where he's going to tally 143 hits and a 298 average. So very, very close right there. Okay. And if we look at Jeff McNeil, 2018, 2019, 2020, he is a career 319 hitter. He's never hit under 311, and that was in the 2020 season. They're projecting him to have a 298 average, so maybe batting average is low for both of these guys, or maybe as players readjust to their first full season back, these numbers are pretty spot on, like Baseball Reference is suggesting, and McNeil, a 77% reliability, is actually fairly high. So let's go ahead now and take a look at the rest of the categories. Runs scored, DJ LeMahieu, 88 projected runs compared to McNeil's 70, so DJ gets that category there. But the Mets second baseman is projected to have 30 doubles and 2 triples, tying the triples category with DJ and leading the doubles category by 4, as LeMahieu is only supposed to get 26 two-base hits this upcoming season. Now, power-wise, looking at home runs, the second baseman in pinstripes is supposed to have 20. He is poised to have 20 home runs, but Jeff McNeil closely follows him with 17. So that's a very similar category. Similar numbers right there. Great production out of both of them, if that's relatively close to what they actually can do in 2021. RBI-wise, DJ LeMahieu, 73 runs batted in, 64 for the Flying Squirrel. Even at 6 stolen bases, though, that's not necessarily a big category to rely on when you're comparing any two particular players. Then you get 42 walks to 41 walks, and in this case, it does tip to the New York Yankees' favor, but it's a 1-walk difference. So yes, that helps out the on-base percentage a little bit, but really, to compare these two players, walks is not going to be an extreme category. Let's go ahead and take a look at strikeouts now. So Jeff McNeil is projected to have 25 less at-bats and strike out 5 less times. We get a comment in the chat here, DJ is the GOAT. I definitely am going to go ahead and agree with you there. We're kind of nearing the end of the 2021 projected stats, and that does seem to be the way the cookie is going to crumble. I mean, I think we all kind of knew heading into this episode that DJ LeMahieu was a better second baseman, but I wasn't going to go ahead and start, just a few minutes in, saying, okay, well, DJ LeMahieu's best second baseman, live stream over, right? So we have to go ahead and dive through the stats. DJ, though, is incredible, and especially out of the two, I think he does go ahead and take the upper hand. So a 5 strikeout difference between these two guys, 86 to 81. The on-base percentage is going to go ahead and tip to Jeff McNeil, a 368 on base. He also has a 475 slugging and an 845 OPS. Love your work. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So yeah, McNeil's going to go ahead and lead in a lot of these categories, on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS. But get this, their slugging is projected to be the exact same at .475. So it's actually, I thought, pretty cool how that works out here. DJ is supposed to have a 352 on base with a 475 slugging and an 827 OPS. Let's go ahead and refer back to that 2019 season, in which LeMahieu had a 375 on-base percentage, so they're projecting this one to be a little bit lower. He had a 518 slugging, so they're projecting his slugging to be a lot lower in 2021 also, and his OPS was .893. So they are definitely undermining the stats, I think, a little bit for DJ LeMahieu. Knowing what the machine is capable of, I'm sure he's going to go ahead and break these stats a little bit. At least I would hope so as a Yankees fan, that he goes ahead and actually does a bit better performance-wise. But nonetheless, still great attributes here. No idea these stats were this close. McNeil's a stud. Who knew? Yeah, that's why I want to go ahead and start this series up here. A, just for the fun of it. B, because both New York teams are set to do really well in 2021. But a lot of these comparisons end up being super similar. And the 2021 projections for DJ LeMahieu and Jeff McNeil are surprisingly eye-opening. I mean, of course, New York Mets fans know how good Jeff McNeil is. I am a casual Mets game viewer. Of course, I live and breathe New York Yankees, but I do root for both the New York teams because they are local. And I've just loved both of them since a young age. But me watching the Yankees, I know what LeMahieu's capable of. He has a high ceiling, and his floor is still very high. His bottom numbers are still really good. And of course, I watch the New York Mets quite a bit. I follow Mets fan pages. I follow Jeff McNeil on social media platforms as well. I mean, you watch this guy, and he is a walking highlight reel himself. He's so good, and Mets fans know how good he is. I think other teams that don't watch the New York Mets and other fans that don't watch the New York Mets are kind of having him slip under the radar, but I'm pretty sure MLB Network projected him to be the number 35 best player in Major League Baseball in the top 100. McNeil is really good. He is definitely a top player. Him and DJ LeMahieu, a huge comparison, and insane how close the numbers are. McNeil should send a super chat for this video. Yeah, I mean, hey, that'd be cool. Do you think Jeff could be in the running for MVP? Honestly, I think both of these guys can be. Any given season. I mean, the impact that they have, DJ for the Yankees, of course, McNeil for the Mets. They have defensive versatility. Each guy can play 3 different positions. DJ first, second, and third capabilities. Jeff McNeil left, second, and third. So being able to have that mobility defensively is awesome. And then you go ahead and look at offense, what they're capable of. Obviously, these guys are studs looking at the numbers. Jeff's underrated. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, he just flies under the radar. I think a lot of people underappreciate how good the flying squirrel really is and the numbers he's been able to put up in Major League Baseball since he made his debut. From 2018 to now, his entire Major League Baseball career, he is a .319 hitter. His career .319 batting average. In 3 years, a .383 on base, .501 slugging, .884 OPS, and .139 OPS plus. I mean, this guy is incredible. And him and DJ, it's definitely a close comparison. If he wasn't going up against DJ LeMahieu, I think McNeil would go ahead and take the better player title. But nonetheless, I mean, 2021, very similar stats. That's what we're getting at right here. On-base percentage, slugging, OPS, batting average, all goes to Jeff McNeil. At least it's projected to all go to Jeff McNeil via Baseball Reference. I think both sets of numbers are undermining the player's abilities. I think both LeMahieu and McNeil will excel and perform a little bit better than these numbers go ahead and suggest, but that's why it's not 100% reliability for both of these guys. They're mere averages and trends that are working into an algorithm. So I definitely like where this is going. Both of these guys have a huge future. And based on the best second baseman going into 2021, the categories are very similar. Okay, McNeil leads in a lot. DJ leads in a lot. I do think DJ LeMahieu is the best second baseman in New York. I also think he is at the minimum a top 2 second baseman in the game, if not number 1. What he's been able to accomplish as a New York Yankee is outstanding. He is so very good. He provides a lot for this team. Again, both of these guys have a lot of defensive opportunities. They can shift around the field as necessary. But offensively, DJ LeMahieu crushes baseballs. Jeff McNeil does too, but I think DJ LeMahieu is the best second baseman in the game, and therefore I think he's going to go ahead and be the best second baseman in New York, projected here in 2021. The stats are similar, but you're getting more at-bats projected, a very similar average, which I do think is going to be higher than what the numbers are on the graphics right now. He's going to hit home runs. He's going to have RBIs. The slugging is going to be there. I'm sure the on-base percentage and OPS, if he's fully healthy, knock on wood, both of these guys are. I think the numbers are going to be a little bit higher. But I think LeMahieu, McNeil, it's a great comparison. However, in my opinion, and I think moving forward, DJ LeMahieu, I think a lot of you guys can also agree with me that DJ LeMahieu is probably going to be the best second baseman and is the best second baseman in New York baseball. Do Bo and Vladdy next? I can definitely do that. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is, for the rest of this series, I currently have all the New York position players, starting position players, under works and in the way. So we're going to finish out. We've done the starting pitching, closers, catchers, first basemen, and second basemen. This is episode number 5. We're going to finish out the infield, go to the outfield, and those will be the last player comparisons I do before the season starts, all with New York players. And then I'm thinking once the 2021 regular season comes about and is underway, I'll probably aim to do like one of these a week or every other week at least. So I think actually Bo and Vladdy would be really cool, at least just to see the numbers side by side and everything. So yeah, I will definitely go ahead and keep that in mind for when the season starts. DJ is very consistent at the plate. Jeff has more power though. I mean, yeah, I can agree with that. Consistency is huge, and LeMahieu has lived by the word consistency with the New York Yankees. His numbers in 19 and 20 with New York have been out of this world. I mean, he's just so good. And the Coors effect out the window. You know, the Yankees picked up LeMahieu on that 2-year contract going into 2019. They re-signed him to a 6-year deal this year, and it's going to pay off. He is 32 years old, but he can play first, second, third. And he hit .327 with the Yankees in 2019 and .364 with the Yankees in 2020. I mean, it's ridiculous. He hits for high batting average. 26 home runs in the 2019 season, 102 RBIs the last full year we saw. He's going to go ahead and produce at a high level. He is a very high caliber second baseman. And that's pretty much the end of discussion. Jeff McNeil, we look at his home runs. The most home runs he's had in a single year is, 23 in 2019. He had 3 home runs in 2018. That is in 63 games. And in 52 games, he had 4 home runs this season. And by this season, I mean 2020. So home run wise, these guys are going to put up, low to mid 20s in a full season. Probably at their best. I don't see them exceeding 30 because these guys aren't power hitters, but they, again, can definitely muscle one up and hit one over the fence any given game because they do have that potential. They're contact hitters. They get on base. They raise the on-base percentage, the average, OPS, slugging, everything. These guys are tremendous. So, to kind of go ahead and close out this episode, I've thrown a lot of stats at you guys, a lot of comparisons here, but DJ LeMahieu, Jeff McNeil is a lot closer of a player comparison than some may think. In the 2018-2019 span, LeMahieu had a lot more games played, and because of that, Jeff McNeil, in limited time, a smaller sample size, did perform a little bit better. Now, if you prorate that, and you both had them play a similar amount of games, I do think LeMahieu would have pulled away with the better stats in the majority of categories. But based off of the actual 2018 and 2019 numbers, I think Jeff McNeil, offensively, is the better second baseman from 2018 to 2019. 2020 rolls along, DJ LeMahieu gets the job 100%, 10 times out of 10, best second baseman in New York. Reminder, again, just going back to 2018-2019, that 2018 season hurt LeMahieu a little bit. He was with the Colorado Rockies. His numbers have been a lot better with the New York Yankees than they ever were with the Rockies. Just to kind of give you guys a comparison on that and back this up, looking at his 2018 season, his last year with the Colorado Rockies, LeMahieu hit 276 with a 321 on base, 428 slugging, and 749 OPS. You then look at 2019, he hit 327 compared to 276 the year before, with a 375 on base, a 518 slugging, which is almost 0.1 higher than his previous season with the Rockies, and an 893 OPS, which is over 0.1 higher than his 2018 numbers. I mean, the Rockies definitely held him back a little bit. He was not playing to his fullest potential while in Colorado, and we could see that. So if he was a Yankee in 2018, from 2018 to 2019, LeMahieu would have been better than Jeff McNeil. 2020, LeMahieu was better than Jeff McNeil, and projection-wise, the numbers are going to be close, but I do think David John LeMahieu is the best second baseman in New York baseball heading into the 2021 regular season, and also, I think he's the best second baseman in baseball. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it with that right there. Thank you to everyone who joined the stream, was in the chat. I appreciate you guys taking the time out tonight to tune into this Who is Better Player Comparisons episode. This was episode number 5. We've done starting pitching, relievers, catchers, first base and second basemen, shortstops and third basemen up next. Let me know who you guys want to see. Would you rather Gleyber Torres and Francisco Lindor up next, or Gio Urshela and J.D. Davis? Obviously it is going to go one way or the other. Specifically for shortstops, we already know who the best shortstop is in New York, but we're going to go ahead and do a video on it anyway so we can cover each and every position. This live is fire. Go to work. Congrats. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Guys, if you want to see the rest of this series and who the best New York starting position players are, don't forget to go ahead, subscribe to my channel, and turn on your post notifications so you can be made aware of every time I go live or upload a video for that matter. Guys, that's going to end it for this one. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope to see you all next time where we compare either shortstops or third basemen in New York heading into the 2021 regular season. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you all next time. Peace.